And we're live. Welcome to Music Matters with Jason Tramm, and thank you for joining us for our unique podcast community, where we explore the triumphs and challenges of the performing arts world as seen through the eyes of distinguished colleagues. Thank you so much for joining and helping us grow. We recently had 1,670 subscribers. Thanks to you. Remember to subscribe to us on YouTube and smash that bell icon for the most up-to-date information on our upcoming guests and topics. And on Music Matters, we have guests from the rock, from the indie singer-songwriter, from the classical, from the opera genres, and everything in between. I love the conversations we have. Remember, you can ask questions of our guests and you can comment. Please join us in the chat and we'll bring it up on the air. Thank you so much for joining us. And now we have a wonderful band. We have the Healthy Junkies, a UK punk, grunge, and rock band who's been doing great work, touring extensively through Europe and also in the United States. And they've had 5 studio albums. We have Phil Honey Smith and Nina Corson joining us today. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Thanks, Jason. By the way, it's Phil Honey Jones. Smith is the other common name in the UK, though. Easy
Sorry about that,
name.
Phil.
I quite like Honey Smith.
I like the sound of it.
Honey Smith is all right.
Yeah.
I got the first 2 parts right. So delighted you can join us today. And how are things over in the UK?
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty much business as usual here. I mean, obviously a lot of mask wearing and a bit of caution, but gigs are back on. We're traveling up and down the country playing. People are out. Great. It's great to be out and to see people who we haven't seen for so long.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, the gigs are quite different because there's a pre-COVID and post-COVID, I think, with the gig and the way, like, the attendance and everything. But it's been good,
I mean, last night we played one. We were worried it wasn't going to be well attended. It was a tube strike here. No transport. It was in a church, and we got a full congregation. Didn't we?
That's an interesting one. I don't think punk rock and hard rock in churches, but that's kind of a cool gig.
Yeah, well, we did a stripped down version of the band. We had an acoustic guitar instead of electric. A friend of a friend played keyboards, so some of the piano parts that appear on our albums, which we never play live, we were able to do. Drums with kind of brush sticks, and it was more about the vocals being in a church. So we adapted the set, and yeah, I mean, I'm glad we did.
Yeah.
Those are fun jobs. I love to hear what bands do when they do those kind of different circumstances. It gives a totally different color of the band and a different look at the sounds. And I just love those type of acoustic performances.
It's a bit like the Unplugged, by Nirvana. That's one of my favorites.
I grew up on those albums.
Yeah,
Alice in Chains, Nirvana, absolutely.
Uh-huh.
So tell us about the band. Now, the band started in 2009. I was looking at your bios. That's a long time for a band. What's been the key to your success?
Well, basically, we're just relentless, aren't we?
I think the key of a success
obsessive.
is being stubborn, like
obsessive compulsive, probably.
I find that in every genre. If you want to be a successful opera singer, you have to be tenacious and you have to never stop promoting. And it's the same for rock and roll, I'd imagine.
Yeah, we don't stop. We're just on it all the time, and we do as much as we can. But then you can do, you got to balance it because you can overdo it as well. In terms of you don't want to play. We were talking about this yesterday. We were worried that we were playing London too much, but actually, it turns out
we got away with it.
We got away with it. It was a great attendance, but yeah, literally just focusing on what you want to do and prioritizing that. And
have a bit of a plan as well. Oh, we're gonna record some songs and we're gonna do videos and we're gonna do a tour to promote it, and it's just it all comes together like that.
We're not naturally organized. That's the thing, because we have to do everything ourselves. Promote, often put the gigs on ourselves, organize the tour, the logistics of that. So we do it, but it's like it's a bit mad.
So I guess having our own night, because we put gigs on as well, and we've been putting on events at a place called the Unicorn in Camden Town, North London, and we've done that for 10 years as well as a band. So it's kind of built into a community, and maybe that's why as well it's kind of grown,
It has been very much about community, building a community, and traveling around to play in different towns, and people traveling from their towns to play in London. And there has been a big community connection that's built over those 10 years. Bit of a secret,
that's that building of community is so important. Now, how did you two know that you had something special when you played together? And tell us about the first time you performed together and you figured out that there was something special artistically there.
Well, funny enough, like when we met,
we didn't really at the beginning.
When we met, we didn't connect at all. Like Phil was like in a band, I was in a band as well with different bands, And I don't know. I guess we would just
I would play a riff, and Nina wasn't interested. She would too.
yeah.
We just did, and then one day it was mutual friend's birthday, and we hadn't got her a present. What are we going to do? Oh, let's write her a song. So it's about someone else. So it's like set aside those kind of egotistical differences, and let's do this job for this person. And we wrote a song called Glam Sister, which was the first song we ever wrote. And after we'd done the first one, it was kind of, oh yeah, okay, so that's what we need to do.
It takes time to really get a collaboration going, to kind of feel each other musically and to kind of read each other's thoughts. I'm sure now that it's much easier that you guys have worked together for so long.
Yeah, we've got a bit of a system going now. Like, yeah,
But we're still looking to try, different ways. Like, the bunch of songs we recorded over lockdown, as well as the ones we did at home. We've been into a studio where we could, and a lot of the ideas were taken from jams in the studio. So the band goes in, well, let's start something on the drums. What do you got? And bass, and start something on the bass, and build a song from there. So involving more of the band rather than
instead of being just you and me.
Yeah. So we've been doing that more, and that's been really cool because it gives a whole different feel to it. You get a vibe going.
Does one person bring in the material kind of completed, or is it more of a everyone kind of brings in their kind of unique design to things?
It's actually always been Nina and I writing the songs, but we have our bass player Dave. He's brought a couple of songs in, bass lines, and we make it into a song. But the whole thing about the band doing it together, it means everybody's there from the beginning. I like that. But we're still going to write songs.
I mean, it also means people doing it in a jam and writing songs together. That means it's everybody's band, not just our band.
Yeah, it's important for everyone to feel that they're as much a part of it. Otherwise, it's the Phil and Nina show plus musicians. We really don't want that.
Good point. And everyone brings something unique when they come to the musical mix. It kind of changes. Even one, changing a bass player, changing the drummer is a completely different. It can change the band in so many different ways. I hear
everything. Change one member of the band. People naively think, oh well, we'll change the drummer, and it doesn't work like that. You change a member, the chemistry changes. Everything changes. Some songs work, some songs don't. So, it's really important to play for the lineup that you've got.
I always ask this. I'm always fascinated with bands that have been around for a while, and it's really hard for a band to stand the test of time. You look at some of the Rolling Stones and some of these bands, and I always wonder how they when other bands break apart so easily. What is it that keeps a band cohesive, especially when you're touring?
I mean, I think with us, we've had a lot of different lineup and stuff, but what's kept us together is also the fact we're a couple, and I've always said, like, if there wasn't any band, there would be no relationship. I mean, I don't know. It's almost like being married or something. Like
married with kids.
Yeah, that's like your kids.
We're like I have 4 kids, so I completely understand. I know you have a cat too.
Yeah, but I find that has a lot to do with it, and also it's like I couldn't imagine doing anything else, to be honest. Like I really don't know what I would be doing if I wasn't doing the band, because I'm unemployable anyway, and I
feel the same way sometimes. Like, man, if I didn't do music, what would I do?
Work in a shoe shop was a classic answer on Spinal Tap.
I was just gonna bring up Spinal Tap. You beat me to it. Nice.
I actually said that to somebody once. We'd been on tour with a band and all around, and we ended up the last day of the tour at my flat. It was 6 a.m. I was talking to the singer, and it's like, what else would we do? And I said, well, work in a shoe shop as a joke. And he said, yeah, well, actually, I do. Turns out, but it wasn't just he worked in a shoe shop. He had a family shoe empire. His great grandparents set this shop up in Oxford. So anyway, yeah,
that's where that joke comes from. That's amazing. So tell us about how you found your genre. Now, both of you, you're in like the epicenter of the punk rock world, right? London being, is I guess also New York, but definitely London being one of the great major cities for punk rock. And what does punk rock mean today?
I mean, I think to me it's more about a lifestyle and a philosophy rather than the sound anymore. Do you know what I mean? Because there's so many bands those days who have a punk rock attitude. It's more about the attitude.
The term has broadened since it exploded onto the scene in 1976. And you've still got a lot of those old bands reformed, Sham 69, still playing, The Dam, still playing. So, there's still the original punk there, but then punk changed. In the 90s, it was Green Day and American punk. So
Nirvana as well.
And then you've got sort of the newer bands. You've got Sleaford Mods and Idols, I think, are quite punk rock to me. So
Yeah.
so
And I found in Seattle we were supposed to see. Do you remember?
Fiddler.
Fiddler,
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
I love them.
Fiddler, yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's also about the lyrics, about the message. But I think it's definitely still very much alive, and there's a lot of there's a movement of girls in bands as well. I mean, in London anyway, a bit like in the Riot Girls type of band, you know, and which is to me very punk rock as well. That kind of movement, and it's definitely happening here. I don't know about the US, but in London there's a bit of a scene, you know, with
Yeah, massive.
yeah.
Great to hear that there's that the new bands are coming up and kind of adopting the ethos and kind of that kind of punk feel and philosophy, and they're all totally different. You listen to the old punk groups and you listen to the modern ones, and your music is certainly certainly evolved from the original punk sound. Now you've played with some of the original, you've opened for some of the original punk groups, haven't you?
Yeah, we supported the Rosillos a couple of times.
Oh,
Vice Squad, the Professionals,
UK subs,
UK Subs.
Shams.
wow.
Yeah, and also playing the Rebellion Festival, which happens every year in Blackpool, and that's probably the main event for punk at the moment. It's 4 days of festival, thousands of people descending upon, and a lot of the original bands go on the bill, plus new bands, a lot of American bands, more and more American bands coming over. So we've got to hang out with people there.
I mean, but I always felt really grateful the way the punk welcomed us, because we never been really just punk. Do you know what I mean? Like in terms of the classical term of what it means. And we more kind of like punk, psychedelic, grunge, alternatives, a lot of mixture. And so like we're not as punk as some of the band that plays this festival. But then when we play a rock gig, we're too punk for them. So
basically,
like, you know,
not punk enough for the punks, but too punks for the indies. So that's what we are.
yeah.
We're outsiders.
What I love about indie music today, I call this the era of the indie artist. I mean, yeah, you have to do all the work and the self promotion and the setup and the touring, but you have such a broad access to get to people, and people today are looking for something unique. When they look up artists, they find something unique, and they kind of follow you. If it's the mixture of different styles, it draws people to you and gives you so many different pools to draw from.
Yeah, I mean, we just like to play what we want to play, and if it means something, I mean, we were in a church with a piano and acoustic music yesterday, so, I mean, and next week we're going to be doing actually an acoustic duo together at a mental health punk night, and then we'll get the band together and we'll do this a ferocious like punk gig. So it's whatever we feel like doing, and in terms of the songs, it's the same. It's like there's no set plan. It's just this is just how it turns out.
Kind of organic. I like that kind of organic feel. Who were some of each of your inspirations growing up?
I mean, for me, I really liked Kurt Cobain, obviously, you know, is my big hero. I really like Courtney Love as well, and the whole L7, Riot Girl, Bikini Kill, Babes in Toyland, all this. I love the Doors as well. Like I like my 60s, you know, 60s music, really. I love Patti Smith, you know, the whole like New York scene with the New York Dolls, and also like Lou Reed, you know, all that scene I really loved. And yeah, the whole Vivienne Westwood, Michael McLaren. I like the Vines as well from Australia. More recently, I like Emil and the Sniffers, you know.
They just played in London a couple of days, actually.
Ah.
The band at the moment. We couldn't get to see them, but we'd love to.
So Phil, who are some of your heroes on the guitar?
Yeah, well, for me, I got hooked on like when I was about 14, hooked on like bands like Deep Purple and Hawkwind, but then got into kind of new wave, punk new wave more, like bands like the Skids and the Buzzcocks. I love the kind of melodic punk style. But I also love the krautrock genre with bands like Can, Faust, that kind of experimental side of things. And I'm a massive Bowie fan, and the whole glam rock thing appeals to me. So, and then there's Bauhaus, who are, I don't know if you know them, a British early goth band. They themselves are very much influenced by Bowie, but I love Bauhaus and that kind of dark wave sound, edgy dark wave vibe. So yeah, a real mixture of influences for me.
I love that, how that kind of alchemy, when you mix together everyone's influences, put it together, and how that kind of organically seeps into the songwriting style.
Yeah.
Yeah, and our bass player is more into the garage rock, like
Yeah.
Ty
Ty Segall,
Segall
was
and
he like
bass drummer
King Gizzard and
yeah.
the Wizard Lizard from Australia? It's like a psychedelic, like Pond, more mellow kind of, Tame Impala,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of whole scene. And yeah, Idols, Fontaine's DC from Ireland. I don't know if you heard of them. You should
Oh, it's
definitely check
great.
them out. They're very happening at the
Yeah,
moment over
yeah.
here.
Yeah, the bus
So
one,
there's
yeah.
this kind of garage rock scene, I guess you'd call it. It's kind of new punk garage, really.
Yeah, yeah.
Bands like Idol. So that's we love that too. But yeah, there's so
You know,
much.
I always liked the Ramones and like some of the punk music, but it wasn't until I started seeing bands live and hearing the energy of the punk kind of vibe that I really got it. I'm like, okay, I took my two sons to see Flogging Molly, and man, we had such a good time with that concert. And sometimes I think the music, the punk rock music, a lot of it's really great. It's really meant to be done live. That garage band sound, that kind of like raw, makes it
Totally,
exciting.
just gets you, it hits you and resonates with you, and it's the energy that's coming forth, and kind of a certain aggression, maybe, or like a conflict in there. Yeah, it's amazing. Being at a punk rock gig, nothing better.
So tell me about the title, your band's name, Healthy Junkies. Now, where'd that come from, and how'd that name stick?
I think it was a bit of a joke to start with, and a pea steak, really.
We always get asked this, so it was a joke. I make something called kombucha. It's a Japanese mushroom. It's a health drink, and so we, Nina saw me drinking this drink every day, and then we were like, smoking as well. And it was like this kind of, well, you're smoking, but you're taking a health drink, so you're a healthy junkie.
Yeah.
So that was it, really.
And we were probably kind of like partying a lot, and you were trying to stay healthy at the same
Leading
time.
a decadent lifestyle of
I
some
just
kind,
like
probably for a while.
it's an oxymoron, isn't it?
Oxymoron, yeah.
Like the whole like idea. But then people started saying, "Are you promoting heroin?" And it's like, no, we're not promoting heroin. It's more of a funny name, like the Sex Pistol or something. Like
Sure.
a bit offensive,
Name,
But
the name of a band's so important, that kind of identifier, and that's kind of a fun thing. It's obviously the bands that have the real crazy lifestyles, they don't tend to last as long.
yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the healthy side. You see, you got to keep, got to eat your greens.
But in America, when we did gigs in America, they saw the healthy more than the junkies, and in England they see the junkie more. So it's just weird, isn't it?
You got both sides covered.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's when I heard that the guy, was it Joey Ramone, was at the time was becoming a health food fan, I'm like, what? That didn't seem to jive, but it makes sense, because if you want to have a long career, you want to be in this for a long time, you got to keep yourself able to perform and healthy.
That's it.
And there is actually is it a vegan shop in LA? Nicked our name.
Yeah.
They called them Healthy Junkies.
Mm-hmm.
We were only on MySpace at the time, early days for us, but then this name popped up. We found it. It's like, oh, you nicked our name. We were going to visit. Did we? We didn't go there.
I don't think he exists anymore. But
has it gone out of business?
Yeah,
God,
it's gone.
Now your band has done 5 studio albums, correct? Is that correct?
Yeah,
that's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
How has your songwriting changed during the 5, almost 20 years of your band's being in existence? How has that changed?
I mean, I think we're more kind of trying different things more. When before it was more of maybe a punk rock.
Well, I remember the first album. We basically got together, we're writing these songs together, and then suddenly we had a gig, and then we thought we'd record it very quickly. So we didn't. And we got a bassist and drummer, and we went straight in the studio, put down an album, and then the songs kind of changed as we were playing them. For the second album, we wrote the songs, and we were playing them live for a while before we actually recorded them. So they were a lot more lived in, and we thought that was a better way of doing things. And the third album, we changed lineups, so back to square one. But then by the third album, we were playing much more, because we never really set out to be a punk band. It's just we were more of a grunge band. But some guy who we actually since befriended, Steve Isles, he spotted us at this gig and said, "I can get you all these gigs, these punk gigs up north or whatever." So
which he does
which
now,
he still does, and so we went on this circuit, and we're playing with bands like GBH in the subs, and the underground bands, and they're all really raw. And so then out of that came a more of a punk rock sound for the third album. literally by being inspired by playing with all these great bands.
It kind of influenced us in our sound and stuff. But I think now we kind of
And then the fourth album became more psychedelic again.
Going back to our roots, which is kind of more slower stuff, more groovy stuff, rather than like just, like punk, really like straightforward. Or
we're like headless chickens flying off in all directions, basically.
No, yeah.
Well, one thing is if you get locked into one style, it's really hard to grow. And if you're going to be around for a long time, as artists, you have to explore it. You always have to be trying new things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's got to be challenging for you, and it's got to be, then you want it's got to be.
I think it's one of the, when you were asking earlier, like how do you last, or I think that's one of the things that you've got to do if you want to have a chance of being around in a few years' time. You've got to adapt what's going on, try new things.
You want to feel like you're moving forward somehow.
Yeah.
You're evolving. You're like,
I mean, there's only so many punk albums you can do, So like at the end of the day, you've got to like go somewhere else.
Or try telling that to some of the punk bands.
No, but some of them do it really well. But like for me anyway, I know that I couldn't.
We weren't there established at that kind of time of punk. So I mean, we feel we can do what we want anyway. And if it's going to be more punk rock one day, fine. If it's not the next, fine.
Mm.
What do you have to say to people? But this is from the crowd. I always hear people bemoaning the fact that rock and roll is dead or is dying. What do you guys have to say about that?
Not at all. I mean, the underground scene, especially here, and I believe in America too,
definitely
is thriving. There's great music, and we're discovering all the time, and new bands forming all the time. And we gig a lot, and we play with a lot of different bands, and there's these new bands cropping up, really great.
I think it's just the mainstream ignoring it, really, if anything, But I think the scene is still there, and there's always been a scene, and there always will be a scene. That's what I believe. Like, there's always be people who pick up a guitar or whatever, and then just write some words and have a message in their head, and want to express that. I think that's always going to be there, but it's about getting the support, and people on, musicians on getting the support, with the whole online platforms and everything, which is good, but then there's like a downside to it too. It's not like back in the day you just buy CDs and there would be like money in the industry, which is
very different. Yeah, I've talked to lots of bands about this, how it's changed. I mean, you can't make a living streaming. That's what I've heard from so many people. That really merchandising and touring are the ways that artists are surviving now. Have you guys gone back to vinyl? I'm seeing that more and more.
We haven't done a vinyl, and people keep asking us all the time, and we really want to do one.
But we're gonna do one.
We're gonna do it. We say the next album.
We do one. I mean, the thing is, it has to be less than 45 minutes for the album, because otherwise we have to have like. And our album are always like 55 minutes or something.
Way too many songs. Get carried away, Don't want to leave any songs out. We're all inclusive with our songs.
No, we are going to do that for the next one. I want a shorter album, and definitely
next time, basically, yeah.
What was the? I heard this. This is I love how art is influenced by the business side. I think the reason that CDs can hold 90 minutes is because that was the longest version of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony when they put it out.
Based on that, there's an interesting fact there.
A little factoid. Me being a classical guy, I just find that fascinating because that wound up applying to every genre.
Across the board, thanks to Beethoven. We've got Beethoven to thank for that.
We were talking about some classical influence on Phil's music, or at least Phil's life, that you have a classical influence on your life as well.
That's right. My mother was a pianist, a classical pianist, and my first instrument was a cello from the age of very young, like 6 or something crazy. And so
I played the viola, not so well, but I did play the viola as a kid.
My brother played the violin, and practicing in our household when I was a kid was not a great. I mean, the sound of what sounded like a dying cat in the next room and a groaning lion, probably from where I was coming from.
Well, he was 6 of you, wasn't he?
Well, I was one of 6, big family. But my mother, she taught piano all her life and brought the family up, as a teacher, as a musician. So she always supported me on, with music. So that was cool.
Now, when did you make the decision to go rock guitar?
I was 12 when because I picked up an acoustic guitar at 10, bit of a struggle, blisters on the hand, but I didn't like the teacher. At 12 years old, I got an electric guitar, and it was like tuned it to an open E tuning with a loud, overdriven sound, and that was it really. No going back from that.
It was the rest is all, as they say. It was meant to be. Now, Nina, did you have a musical background before you started? Did you from a
Yeah, I
musical
mean,
family?
my dad used to be a singer in the 70s
Oh,
in a psychedelic band. They supported Can, like back in the day. They were called like Metamorphosis. That was the name of the band. It was like a butterfly as a logo, and they've got
hmm.
some recording of that. But then, yeah, I did some piano, 4 years of piano at the age of 12 until the age of 16. I had like some singing lesson and stuff like that as well. But my main thing really was more acting. I did that from the age of 9 until the age of 19. So I did about 10 years of that drama classes, and like the whole like
I'm sure that pays dividends, especially when you're on the stage and you have to move the crowd and get everyone excited. That acting comes in awfully handy.
it is, and then he gives you a relationship with the stage as well, and the whole way you use your voice as well. Because even in drama, you have to project, and they tell you about the technique of hair, and all this. So I think he really helped me, and I've tried to incorporate that into my performance, I guess. But I don't see myself as a singer, more like a performer, to be honest.
Performance artist. That makes
And
sense. A performance
also,
artist.
you had a role in the
Oh yeah.
recent upcoming Sex Pistols series, didn't you?
Wow.
Yeah, directed by Danny Boyle. It's like I'm on this extra agency, and they messaged me saying they were looking for a junkie to play a role at
Sid and Nancy.
the Chelsea hotel. That's so yeah. I just went there. They gave me some fake cigarette to smoke, and I was paid to do that all day long. And it was great. And then I saw Danny Boyle, and it was
Wow.
really exciting. It's like, oh, that's what I would have done if I didn't go into music and try and be a rock star. I probably would have ended up like more like going on films and stuff.
Did you do any musical theater in your travels?
Yeah, musical theater. No, I mean, I worked at
Dominion.
the Dominion Theatre, in my early 20s when I first arrived in London. It's called the We Will Rock You show. It was like the Queen musical.
Sure.
And yeah, I worked there for a few months and stuff. But yeah, it was lovely, to meet the people there, the actors there. It's a different world to the kind of underground scene, and it's great to meet both worlds. Really, it's very, it gives you a lot of experience. Really, yeah.
When I have these conversations, I just love it because it just shows. Like I teach at the university, and I love to tell my students that whether you look at an opera singer who's been traveling, or you look at a rock band that's been touring, like you guys have
Yeah.
been for so long, the discipline required is basically the same. You have to be so focused, and really, you got to make plans, and you got to be very diligent about your plans, and it's the same kind of drive that takes you there.
Yeah, I mean, it's ongoing, isn't it? Really.
Yeah,
Never ending.
discipline probably isn't a word I'd apply to us, but they must be there. We must be disciplined, but I can't see it myself.
I mean, yes, you do. Like when you go on tour, you
We have
can't,
to actually be at places at
yeah.
a certain time. There you go. Not always easy, but I in my head now, I'm imagining check out of the hotel, no one's awake, we're late, and so we do get to places, but it's a typical kind of debacle for us, really.
But I guess we do party.
We do the whole thing, you see. Yeah, so no one's going to bed the night before, and
But you have to have that fine balance between.
there's a balance.
Yeah.
You can't just
You
drink
can't just
water
do
and
it
be
every
a
time.
be a
like,
nun and a
yeah,
monk, and go around and expect to really get in the spirit of things.
yeah. Being on tour is not as glamorous as people think.
It never is.
Snoring, sharing rooms. God.
Who drives the van?
Well,
I
that's
was doing opera tours, and it's really the same thing. I would fly to Florida, and then one of the persons driving the van, and you're going from town to town, and finish late, start early, never ends.
We got a driver recently, didn't we? I can't say too much about it. But we were a bit scared. We were swerving all over the road, and he was a big snorer. I know that one of the guys, the bass player Don, was meant to share the room with him, and he couldn't share the room because of the snoring. So he went out to sleep in the van. This is in Scotland, in really cold, and he goes in the van. He sets the alarm off on the van, and then he ends up on the floor. I get up in the morning about 10. I'm first up usually, and there he is on the floor, and that happened every night, didn't he? It was a snoring
Yeah.
issue, but you know, what are you going to do?
Life. Yeah, life on the road and being glamorous. So, where are some of the greatest places you've played that people wouldn't expect to be great rock towns?
I mean, like, I think America probably.
Well, I mean, I guess they would expect Seattle and Olympia to be one of those
Yeah,
great, but
yeah.
in England,
Oh, in England.
Canterbury's pretty
Uh,
cool. We go to Canterbury. That's the Canterbury Tales
Actually,
tour.
Sure.
Telford.
Telford, which is up kind of near like Newcastle, Underline, Stoke-on-Trent to the northwest. Yeah, so that's a cool little epicenter of
It's in
punk
the
rock.
middle of nowhere, but like every time we go there, it's just full of
These people,
life
yeah, we've
and
met all these people up there and they live in the countryside. Some of them come in.
Glasgow.
Glasgow's awesome. I mean,
Huh.
we played Glasgow recently. The Scottish, yeah, they were going crazy, weren't they?
Yeah, there's like 50 of them, and it looks like there's 200 of them because of the way they're
The way they move, you know.
Yeah.
How about France? Is there a big punk scene in France?
I mean, maybe in Brittany, because they don't really consider themselves French over there. It's a bit kind of Celtic, influence. And I would say in Brittany, yes, definitely there's a scene there. But in Paris, I mean, I haven't been there for years.
You can't
anyway.
even park in Paris. And the
Yeah.
restrictions they impose on you. I mean, we play Paris, but
In Paris, it's a lot of paperwork to play venues. They're very kind of like bureaucratical, like very by the book and stuff. And you can't just plug in and play like in England. I mean, it's very difficult there, I find.
definitely Brittany. Brittany's the northern
But
section
Brittany
of France.
is the part to go in France, for sure.
We played a sheep farm in Brittany.
Wow.
And it was a huge, long shed that was empty. The sheep were all in the shed next door. So they emptied this huge shed out, bales of hay, and set the stage up. And 300 people, Bretons, they call themselves the Bretons from Brittany, and they were just like shirts off. They just go the distance that much further in Brittany.
Yeah, they do.
Nothing like those intimate shows where you have, it's great to do the bigger shows, but boy, those intimate shows are some of my favorite ones I've ever seen. You watch a band play 250 people, nothing more. That is always my favorite.
Totally. Playing when you're standing on the floor, not on a stage, and people are right in your face. Yeah, you can really feel. And then you go onto a bigger stage, there's always this gap and the fence, and the lighting's great, the photos are great, maybe the sound on stage. You've got this distance.
I prefer to play the small stage, to be honest. When we play the big stage, and like when we do some festival and you have those barrier with the security guy in between, and it's just like,
you're over there, we're here, there's no connection.
Point?
How can you connect with people when
What's
they're
the
so far away?
Yeah.
So COVID was so terrible for all of us. I mean, there were so many challenges. Of course, all of our performances stopped across the world. But what are some things you each learned about yourselves during that period that maybe you bring with you as you go back to your music?
What did we learn?
I mean, for me, it was like I learned that we were doing too many gigs and we didn't have enough time to kind of, get on with our songwriting. And we had so many songs in my phone recorded that needed to be actually structured, and I needed to write lyrics for. And when you're on the road and stuff, you don't really have time to focus on those things, and you just think about the gig and what you've got to do and this. So that was really good for that. For me, I caught up on a lot of creative things I needed to do.
I was pretty much out on burnout before COVID hit. We were playing and playing and playing and traveling, and I was like, and I kept saying to Nina, I've got to get off the bus here. Anyway, then it stopped. It was forced upon us, and it was probably a good thing for me personally to start with.
And we made an album.
We made an album. We did the soundtrack to our American tour. We did a lot of filming when we were in America. Put a soundtrack to it, released it as a double album over lockdown. So that was interesting, an interesting sort of extension on the journey using different sounds.
Did you guys do a lot of writing during that time period since you weren't on the road and you had lots more time?
Well, I think we must have done.
We did. I mean, we reflected a lot on, the whole being locked up and stuff. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of songs coming out about that, but like some of our album in America, we wrote some of the lyrics.
Yeah, there was actually a lot of lyric writing going on.
Yeah.
For I think we did a double album, and we've done another album which we recorded. We've done a lot of recording, and I think we did 5 or 6 videos as well.
Yes, yeah.
So we were allowed to do videos and gather because it was for work. So
Okay.
I remember notably we went to an island on the Thames, and there was about 30 of us and going crazy
during lockdown, you
during
know.
lockdown, and we got away with that.
But because it was outside,
Yeah,
it
we were
wasn't in
outside in the fresh
fucking-
air.
You were allowed to have up to 30 people,
Yeah.
so it was, you know, like, yeah. But I guess
What's the process of making videos? I mean, you're seeing indie bands, everyone's been making videos. I'm just amazed by the creativity. And because no one's got gigantic budgets, how creative you have to be. But you can really do a great product. You guys have great videos. I've seen a bunch of them.
Part of the secret of that is working with people who we know, great video makers, people who are really good at filming, have got a great eye. Sometimes other people have edited. Sometimes, Neen, you've done a lot of editing of videos. And working with people like recently with Eris from the band
Aries from Witch of the East and Camille as well.
Camille,
from
yeah.
VOD. And then we, you know, Shogo.
Shogo did some videos. So we've met people who are really good at making videos. And then dressing up a bit, finding a location's a bit unusual, disused warehouse, the old job center. We did a video.
We've got one, like, it's called Jumping Sofa, and it's an old job center, and there's about 20 different rooms and stuff. You could do like 10 videos there. You know,
perfect.
Yeah.
And we ended up in Devon one time, and then in the south of England, and there was a Norman castle we found, and no one there because it's COVID. So just Nina and I. So we thought, well, this is our set. I mean, it's a Norman castle. That was a set for the video.
Yeah.
When we did something in the way.
I guess sometimes it's all about improvisation as well. Like, I know a lot of people plan and they've got every scene by the minute and stuff, but for us, we just find something and we get inspired on a moment. We work more like that. I guess.
Like, I need smoke. Get smoke. I need dress him up as a priest. You know.
Yeah.
I like that kind of quasi-improvisatory kind of, you know, sometimes when things are too regimented, it takes the creativity out. So leaving a little bit of that space in there is a little more like jazz, where you can kind of improvise and kind of feel it out in the moment.
Exactly.
That said, we did one great video with John Clay, which was edited during lockdown.
He did
and
those
John Clay, and it's a song called Some Kind of Girl, which is up there.
Yeah.
And John is amazing. He's the opposite to us. He prepares everything. So every scene was put down, and he had a plan. But it was so good to work with a director who had a plan as well. That's also cool.
Yeah.
And in fact, Eris was pretty good like that.
She knew exactly.
So it really depends on who you're working with.
It takes a whole team to make these things work, right? I mean, same with the band. It must take a whole, you must have a support system to make these things possible.
Doing makeup, hair.
But for me, I always saw it as a therapy. During lockdown, we were doing all those videos, and all our mates were coming as extra or helping, whatever. And it was almost like a therapy group during lockdown. Like, let's do something, let's get out there, let's have fun. You know what I mean? Let's get out of our houses and just... Well,
the Mayday video, which was a recent one, and that one that we did on the island on the Thames, that was just really about mental health, and it was a bunch of us coming out to save ourselves from the mental health we've all been going through, issues that we're going through. You know?
Yeah, we all needed that, and it must have been special getting back together live. I mean, did you do a lot of streaming performances during COVID?
We did quite a bit, and some of them are okay, and some of them are diabolical. We did our own
good word.
We did our own one, which was our own festival behind closed doors in a pub, and so 3 days worth. But we had a friend, Dave Stops, came down, and he put like about 10 cameras up or something, filmed everything, and we had another friend, Julian, filmed the sound, put it into Adobe Premiere, and edited it ourselves, and streamed it over 3 days live on Facebook Live. So that was really good fun, and that came out.
I mean, that was the best stream we did before, and we just realized the technology around us.
Yeah, an old laptop doesn't work that well.
The signals, internet is cutting. It's unlistenable sometimes. You know.
We've done some bad ones.
Yeah. But we got.
I think it's part of the process is to learn. Everyone was learning on the job. I mean, there was no. We went from live performers to all of a sudden now we're content creators, and it's totally different. Television people.
No, definitely. I mean, it was a good learning process. So for that, we did manage to do some good live stream at the end. Towards the end,
I mean, there's some. We did some stuff with John Himoff. He does great.
Camden Live.
Camden Live. Yeah. actually put the gig on last night.
And Stakeout Studio, where we filmed.
Stakeout Studio was
Yeah.
the studio of the island I keep mentioning on the Thames, which actually was burnt to the ground like 2 weeks after we were there. There was a fire and a boat blew up. It's crazy. There's a viral video about that, which was like, so we managed to film, and then the whole thing burnt down. So
But I think where we filmed the video is still there, but it's just, some of
it wasn't us anyway. We didn't set fire to it.
Well, I'm glad it wasn't the music. So what do you guys have coming up next, and where can people go to find out more about the Healthy Junkies?
Well, we got some London gigs coming up. 5th of December, Dublin, Castle, Camden. 4th. I keep getting that wrong, don't I? 4th of December, Camden. 9th of December, New Cross with Jaina Stark, who's the guitarist who played with Prodigy. And then the 11th of December is our own Punk and Roll Rendezvous, which is the name of our monthly night. We're doing a Christmas party on the 11th of December.
At the Fighting Cocks in Kingston.
We got a whole tour next year in March.
Oh, we got the 100 Club as well.
Oh, let's not forget the 100
on
Club.
the 17th.
Classic punk rock venue.
17th of December with Sex Pistols Experience.
And the Drones. But next year we're doing a tour. It's called the Lips Can Kill Tour. There are 4 bands, including us. We all know each other. And we do a bunch of gigs together. And the poster is of the 4 girl singers from all the bands.
It's Tokyo Taboo, Polly Pockets, and Your Mum.
Yeah, so we got that next year. Then we got like about 10 dates with that. March.
Well, you're doing like a festival, aren't you? Like
I'm also doing a festival.
American...
Yeah, there's a 2-day event. And this is the guy I was telling you about. We were in touch, Stephen, who's from New Jersey. And he's basically bringing over a load of bands from the US. And we're doing 2 days in Camden. I don't know how many bands there is, like 25 bands or something over 2 days. And that's going to be the end of July 29th and 30th, I think. But that's going to be the UK versus the USA. That's of the event. So one UK band, one USA band, one UK band, so on. So it's about USA.
And the audience wins. You have 2 great. I love that. That's going to be awesome.
So yeah, that's exciting.
That's in July, isn't it? I mean,
that's in July.
We've got our own festival as well on a Valentine weekend, 11th, 12th, and 13th of February.
Again, that's the Punk and Roll Rendezvous
festival
we do.
Yeah.
And if people want to find anything out, they can go to www.healthyjunkies.co.uk or Facebook, Healthy Junkies Band.
Instagram is healthy_junkies.
Yeah, and Twitter, Healthy Junkies. So Google Healthy Junkies if you want to find out more.
There's not going to be that many apart from us, like, I don't think.
Not many Healthy Junkies out there. Well, actually, there are a lot of Healthy Junkies, but they don't use the name to describe themselves as their band.
And they don't have band at the end, too. So make sure, we also have it in the descriptions. Check out their website, it's Healthy Junkies. And check out on social media. These guys are all over. And so when's the next album coming out, or single? When can we follow that? And you also have a presence on YouTube and Spotify, too, right?
We are on YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube as well. Healthy Junkies 1, Spotify, just Healthy Junkies.
Healthy Junkies, loads of stuff on Spotify.
We've got a new single coming out.
Yeah, it's called Cry of the Wolf.
January maybe.
It's all pretty much done, but we just January. I think sometime in January will be our next video single. It's all been filmed. Just touch up on the editing.
It's filmed by Aries from Witch of the East, and it's about it's about a friend of ours who died.
He was called Wolf. He was a vampire, dressed as a vampire. He was a good friend. He came to all our gigs. He was always there. And, you know, in COVID, all he really had, he was getting older, and all he had was like going to gigs. And then the gigs, he couldn't go to the gigs anymore. He died in the end. So it's very sad. So he wrote him this song called Cry of the Wolf. And that's coming up. Yeah.
And then the new album is probably going to be, I don't know, at the end of the year, next year or something.
Yeah. We haven't decided.
In the works.
Yeah, there's a lot to do.
Actually, this is our drummer. Come and say hi, Raf.
Hey, come on in.
Our drummer's here. Come on screen, Raf.
Guys have a rehearsal tonight?
Yeah, we actually supposed to go to the cinema.
Hey man, how you doing?
How you doing? Welcome from New York.
Oh, nice to see you, man. Yeah, I've been in New York for 5 months and a half in 2019. Yeah, I had a great time there.
Beautiful.
You played with Adam Bomb, didn't you?
I played with some band called The Sweet Things. I don't know if you heard about them. And I was also playing with a great guitar player called Adam Bomb, but it's been around for like maybe 40 years now.
And how long have you been in Healthy Junkies?
well, it's been
3 months.
2 months and a half, 3 months. Yeah.
We knew each other way before, like for 2-3 years or something. We were hanging out. We didn't know he was a drummer. We thought he was a guitarist.
Well, I play a bit of guitar, but yeah, mostly the drums.
I love how that a new person adds a lot of. So what do you bring? What do you bring to the group that's different?
I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I don't really.
Discipline.
Yeah, I guess. I don't really know, what kind of style the other drummers were playing, but I obviously have, I guess, a lot of very old school influences. Whether it's with rock or blues and soul music. So I love all the drummers like Ian Pace, Keith Moon, John Barden, Mitch Mitchell. Uh, the classic stuff really. So yeah, I mean, I guess I have maybe a more vintage style than the old guy didn't have.
Yeah, I think so.
Mhm.
It's great to bring new energy and kind of a new life to things. It's kind of a good change of pace sometimes. We add to add a new piece.
It's about the chemistry between us all as well. It's about that spark, and that's definitely there. It's I love the way Raph interprets the songs on drums. It's a style you bring
Well,
to the table.
Boots are Made for Walking. We do a cover of Boots Are Made for Walking, and the way we recorded it is really different to the way we do it with rap. It's kind of dabbled up. It's more like original to the original version.
It's more jazzy.
It's-
It's
yeah,
almost
it's
more like
more-
almost a
it-
Charleston from the 20s or something. To me.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a very it's playing in a more like blues shuffle way. Interesting. I mean, to be honest, I mean, I didn't hear your version.
You hadn't heard our version.
until we play together.
We were just
so-
like jamming and said, "Oh, do you know this song? Yeah, well, let's
Right.
just play it." And that's
Mm.
what he did. He changed it completely, and we loved it. So
I just love how every drummer playing even a 4/4 rock beat is completely different. It's such a different world, and each person brings their creative artistry in there that changes things. Even if you were playing and listen to it, it would be differently if you tried to make it the same because we're different people, and that's what makes it so interesting.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
it's like being in a relationship.
Yeah, indeed.
I wish you guys nothing but continued success as you go back into your touring and traveling and recording, and I can't wait to see you live when you come to the States.
well, we'll let
Yeah,
you know.
That'll be awesome. Yeah.
We sort this gig out in Queens, was it? And New Jersey with
And Brooklyn.
we'll let you know, and we'll look you up.
Well, continued success, and thank you so much for joining us on Music Matters.
Thanks so much
Well,
for
thank
having
you
us,
for having us.
Jason.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Please remember to subscribe to us on YouTube and smash that bell icon for the most up-to-date information on upcoming guests and topic. Like and share our videos, and to check out our past 250 episodes, go on www.jasontram.net. And remember, keep music alive.